Thank you, Leland. Well, there is yet another video that has now emerged of Obamacare architect Jonathan Gruber. This is number 4. So you wonder how many more there might be. This time talking about the state that health care law is in Massachusetts, which was cited as a model for Obamacare, of course. Listen now as he talks about how Ted Kennedy was able to scam the federal government out of a lot of money in order to pay for their state's law. Listen.
Dirty secret in Massachusetts is the feds pay for our bill. Okay? In Massachusetts, we had a very powerful senator you may know named Ted Kennedy. Ted Kennedy Ted Kennedy and smart people in Massachusetts had basically figured out a way to sort of rip off the feds for about $400 million a year.
Isn't that great? Illinois Republican Congressman Aaron Schock sits on the House Ways and Means Committee, and he joins me now. Congressman, good morning. Good to have you here.
Good morning, Martha. Good to be with you.
You know, there's such a superior attitude in these sound bites, in these videos about how, you know, if you're really smart, you can sort of manipulate money because you know better than the people what's good for them. And he points to this event where he says they did it quite successfully in Massachusetts. He's very proud of it.
You know, Martha, it's emblematic of liberals in Washington. They just simply think that they're the ruling class, that they're smarter than the plebeians back in our relative states, and that, you know, it's up to them, the ruling class in Congress and the federal government, because the American people are just too stupid, that they have to tell them what kind of health care to buy, what kind of food to eat, what kind of schools for their children. It's emblematic of the nanny state, and I think it's what the American people overwhelmingly push back from a week ago in the overwhelming elections in the House and the Senate, and why people are so taken aback by the liberalism of the Obama administration.
You know, when the bigger, more underlying part of all of this is not that he seems very smug as he's sort of talking about how the wool was pulled over the people's eyes in this country, but the fact that the wool was pulled over the people's eyes. And I'm wondering what happens now. So if, you know, does he have to go before Congress? Does he have to explain why it was okay to misrepresent this bill?
Well, I think, first of all, the shame should be put on the legislators. I mean, this was a legislative malpractice on the part of Democrats who ran the House and the Senate at the time. They are the ones who refused to read the bill. They are the ones who refused to have hearings to find out what was in the bill. They were the ones who refused to let the American people find out what was in it before they passed it. And so they are the ones who really are at fault. This idiot gladly took $400,000 from the federal government, who was willing to pay him to say these outrageous things and put together this awful law. I mean, look, I don't know how many more videos we need to have to show that this guy is full of nonsense, but the fact of the matter is somebody in the Obama administration thought he was so brilliant that they should hire him and include him as an architect of drafting this most important signature law that the president was behind.
All right,
that's what's, I think, frustrating.
So you're saying that Democratic lawmakers should be held responsible for misrepresenting this bill to the American people, and I'm asking again, you know, so what will you do to that end? Now, you know, Republicans are in power in both houses, so is this part of a reform repeal movement that you think is actual evidence that will help you in that goal?
Absolutely. Well, you know, believe it or not, when I was in Congress in my freshman year, I was like 434 out of 435 in seniority when the Congress voted on Obamacare. Today, I'm like 230 out of 435. What that means is that half of the Congress wasn't here when Obamacare passed. And the reason, Martha, is because House members and Senate members who've had to go to the elections, go to the polls and defend Obamacare have lost overwhelmingly in the House and the Senate. On a policy level, what we're going to do very simply is there will be a repeal bill in the House, there will be a repeal bill in the Senate, and members will have the opportunity to vote on that. There's some speculation on whether the Senate will get to 60 votes and whether the president will veto it or not. I'm not going to speak for him at this point. But then at that point, if he does not sign a repeal and the repeal doesn't happen, we'll put forward bills that have passed the House last year, overwhelmingly, bills that say let people buy health care that fits their family needs, that fits the business's needs, that aren't what the HHS secretary says you have to buy. That bill passed with overwhelming Democrat and Republican support in the House. I'm confident that if Mitch McConnell puts it on the floor of the Senate, that you'll have not only overwhelming Republican support, but some of the more conservative Democrats supporting it as well. Let the president veto a law that simply says Americans should be able to buy the health care they want, not the health care government says they have to buy.
All right. Big, interesting developments on all this over the course of this week. Congressman Schock, thank you very much. Great to have you with us.
Good to be with you, Martha.
You bet.
Thanks.